Hello Thrivers. Today I'm talking about something that everybody that has been through narcissistic abuse or who's battling complex PTSD, which follows narcissistic abuse like a shadow, it's something that everybody has gone through. So with that in mind, let's start talking about brain fog. Narcissistic abuse, it's confusing you slowly yet consistently enough that you wind up in a situation that by the time you realize it, it's too late. So we can definitely see the dangers of, not working through brain fog and why we really need to do that. I think that some people wind up learning more about the narcissist in an effort to heal, right? And in a way, that's part of it. But again, since I see in pictures, I'm going to give you what's going through my head right now. Okay, so let's say you visit another country and the laws of the road are different. Right? The laws of pedestrians are different. They don't have the right of way like they have here in the States. So you're walking, you don't know the laws, you wind up getting hit by a car, and you break a leg. After that happens, you can learn about the laws, right? You can learn about pedestrian laws, you can learn about why it happened. You can gain that understanding, which is super helpful, right? So that you don't keep which is super helpful so that you don't find yourself in this situation or the same situation again. But that information about the laws and why it happened and because of this and because of that isn't going to fix your broken leg. To fix your broken leg, you have to give attention to your leg. Forget about the pedestrian laws and give attention to your leg. You'll have to get an operation, you'll have to have a cast, you'll have to go through physical therapy to, regain your strength in your leg. Well, part of healing from narcissistic abuse is learning about what happened so that you can understand. Obviously, we need that understanding. I don't think we can heal without it. But that understanding of the narcissist is going to help you to know how certain pieces of you may feel broken or actually are broken or dysregulated, but it's not going to heal the dysregulation. What's needed is physical therapy or doing things that help the parts of you that got dysregulated as a result of the narcissist. And that's kind of what I'm trying to talk about and focus on is, yes, it happened because of that reason. This is what it feels like. This is what it looks like. But this is what we need to do if we don't want to stay in those same cycles and the same relationships, doing the same things day after day, year after year. Okay, so with that in mind, let's talk about what we need to do. And the reason I brought up that illustration is because in my face-to-face coaching, I think that when we get to this part, I think that sometimes people get either confused or surprised when we talk about certain things that help recover from narcissistic abuse. And I think it's because the tips and the tools and the mindsets have nothing to do with the narcissist. So they're like, well, wait a second, how's that going to help me? It's because of the narcissist that this happened. And that's true, just like it's because of the car that the person got the broken bones. Well, now you have to give attention to your physical state. And that's true with narcissistic abuse. There are physiological changes that have happened, and you have to kind of go through physical therapy, so to speak, to work on those parts. And so so again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, I apologize. So let's get right into what some of those tips are. The first tip is all about calming your nervous system, okay? If you've been through narcissistic abuse, the stress, the chronic stress, the walking on eggshells has changed your nervous system. I remember when I was dating my husband and he was in Hawaii, and we would fall asleep on the phone, and he would be like, Michelle, when you're asleep, you sound like you breathe as if you're running a marathon. He's like, I couldn't even match how you're breathing because it sounds like you're running. And there's no relaxation in the way you're breathing. I didn't even realize that my nervous system was still kicked on. And so I bring that up because if your nervous system has been kicked on for a long period of time, because of emotional manipulation, then it doesn't just go back. It doesn't just go back to how it was, right? It's kind of like if your brake on your car suddenly fails and you don't use your car for 5 years, it would kind of be silly to think that, oh, I'm going to get in the car, I think the brake's going to be fine. That would be silly, right? You actually have to do something to fix that brake system. Well, it's the same thing with our nervous system. The person may be out of your life for a long period of time, but you have to do things to fix your nervous system. And something that's very powerful to do that is your diaphragmatic breathing. But before I get into diaphragmatic breathing, for anyone that's wondering, for anyone that's thinking, well, I wonder if my nervous system is still activated, I'm going to give you a small, I guess, kind of way of gauging it, okay? So find your pulse on your wrist, and when you find it, I gotta find mine, hold on. I'm dead, no. Okay. So when your nervous system is activated, I got my pulse ready. When you inhale, your heart rate increases. And that turns on your sympathetic nervous system. It's the state that narcissistic abuse keeps you stuck in. When you exhale, it turns on your parasympathetic nervous system and your heart rate decreases. Okay, so small test here. Take a in breath. Don't take a breath like you're going underwater. Just inhale to the count of 4, just a regular breath. And then exhale as if you're blowing out a candle to the count of 6. I'll do it with you guys. And feel your pulse. And does it increase and decrease dramatically? Or is there only a very slight difference or none at all? I would love to hear in the comment section below. Okay, so just inhale to the count of 4. So with mine, I feel the increase and then I feel it get really slow. But when my nervous system was stuck in fight or flight and it was in the sympathetic state, when I did that exercise, I was like, there's no difference. Like, I'm inhaling and exhaling and it's the same. That's not good. In order to start working through your brain fog, you have to calm your nervous system, because when you are in fight or flight, your body's releasing cortisol. And cortisol attacks the neurons in your hippocampus, which is your thinking, your memory center, your logic, your ability to make decisions. All of that is in your prefrontal cortex, and that part of your brain loses neurons because of cortisol. So we need to get our nervous system calmed down. And diaphragmatic breathing is the brake on the car. So if your car's out of control, that's the first thing you want to do. Well, if your nervous system is out of control, that's what you want to start practicing. And it shouldn't be your 911. You don't want to wait till you're in a full-blown panic attack or you're having an emotional flashback to practice diaphragmatic breathing. No, you want to practice it regularly so that the default state in your body is your parasympathetic state. The second thing that is really helpful is starting to do exercises that work your prefrontal cortex. So again, if somebody broke their leg, they have to strengthen the muscles that support their leg. Well, if you've lost brain function, and believe me, you have as a result of narcissistic abuse, then you have to work the parts of your brain, let's pretend as if they're muscles, right? But the part of your brain that has been weakened, and that's your prefrontal cortex. So just to explain it really quick, what happens when you're in fight or flight all the time is that your amygdala, another part of your brain, is being turned on all the time. And it's a part of the brain that we need. It's our alarm system, right? So we definitely need it. Without our amygdala functioning properly, we would do insane things without fear. So we need that part of our brain. But we shouldn't be living in it 24/7. But that's what happens with narcissistic abuse. In fact, if you've ever used the phrase, I'm walking on eggshells, that's basically what you're saying. I'm walking on eggshells means I'm living as if I'm in a war zone and something's going to happen, so I have to be alert and I'm in fight or flight. That's basically what you're saying. So when you're in that part of your brain for a long period of time, when you're really only supposed to be there when there's danger, then you're not in the part of the brain where you're supposed to be, okay, which is your prefrontal cortex. That's where you're supposed to spend the majority of the time, and the amygdala is only for emergencies. But it's almost like narcissistic abuse reverses. So now you're always in your fear, you're always in your guilt responses, you're always in the anxiety, and you're never in the thinking, the clear thinking and the logic. So it's not enough to learn about the narcissist. It's not going to fix your brain. It's not going to make it go back to how it was. You have to exercise it. And some things that are really helpful are memory games, learning something new. The good thing about the hippocampus is even though cortisol kind of eats away at the neurons there and causes it to shrink, if you use it, those neurons can really multiply and go back, thanks to neuroplasticity, go back to how they should be. But if you do nothing, then they will stay in the same state they were in when you were in the relationship with a toxic person. Okay, so you really have to do things that helps. Even memorizing a sentence, memorizing scripture, memorizing a poem, those, whatever it is, those are helpful. Okay, anything that has to do with logic games. You could even look up on your phone apps or games that strengthen prefrontal cortex and find one that you like. And then it's about repetition. Just like exercise, right? If I exercise my arm one day a month, I'm really not going to see much of a difference. But it's the everyday things. So if you find a game, make sure that you do it every day, even for 5 minutes a day. 10 minutes would be ideal, but even if you could just do 5 minutes a day, it would be really powerful. Something else, and I talk about this in my workshop, my 12-week workshop, which is actually now the School of Transformation. But anyway, I talk about the power of laughing. So finding things that make you laugh. Because when you're in survival, it's impossible to laugh. Your body won't let you, because if the lion was coming to eat me, I'm not going to start thinking about something funny that I saw on TikTok yesterday. Okay, it's not going to happen. But if I'm not in fight or flight, my brain has that ability to find humor, to enjoy the lighthearted things like something funny. I encourage you to find things on a daily basis. I mean, it's so easy nowadays with the internet. You can look up memes, you can look up TikToks, you can look up anything, you can look up videos about cats. Whatever makes you laugh, spend 5 minutes a day doing that, because that helps as well with your brain regulation. And the last tip I'm going to give in this video, because there's a lot of things that can help, but for the sake of time, I'm going to give one last tip. And that is to start listening to what you're saying inside of your mind. Okay? Some of that confusion, especially with decision making, is because somebody repeated and planted negative things in your mind. So, for example, let's say you want to make a decision, but you've always been told that, you know, everything you do is wrong. So it's going to create that confusion because it's how you view yourself is kind of slamming heads with how you were told you are. And it created a lot of confusion in you. So start getting a clear picture of who you are apart from who you were told you are by the toxic person. Something you can ask yourself that would be helpful is, what did the toxic person say that I was? Or what qualities did they say I had? And write that down. And then ask yourself, who am I in my own eyes? That's going to be a harder column to write. You're going to notice because your brain has been in the other column for a really long time. But it's excellent exercise for your prefrontal cortex, and it's also excellent exercise for you to start getting a clearer picture of you. So those are just some tips. They really do work. I would love to hear which ones you plan on putting into practice in the comment section below. And if anyone feels like the videos aren't enough and they want weekly affordable support that can help you on your healing journey, especially in this time with COVID, make sure you check out the Thriver School of Transformation, which is now finally available. It's starting soon. So make sure you check it out in the description box below and see if it's something that resonates with you.